What's up, family? Welcome back to the God Hoodlum, the official Godhood Comics podcast. I'm your host, comic book writer, creator, publisher, and founder of Godhood Comics, Tyler Martin. Today's episode, we're going to be giving my full review on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Stay tuned. It's going to get a little heated and a little controversial, but hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to see my point of view and my ambitions towards representation as it relates to comic books and comic book related content. So, it's safe to say from day one, I was always recast T'Challa. I remember when he first passed away, Chadwick Boseman first passed away. Just like a lot of you, it was an incredibly emotional and grieving time. This man was not only an incredible actor, but he was an activist, philanthropist, and what he brought to the role of T'Challa will always be recognizable. It's going to go down in history as one of the best performances of a comic book character, if not a fictional character in history. So it's iconic, right? No one's debating that. But as a comic book creator who fights for representation in comic books as it relates to Black men and Black women, I also knew how significant the role of T'Challa was. All right? And I was scared from the day he died to when they were announced that there was still going to be a sequel. I was thinking, okay, well, they're going to recast him, right? They have to recast him. And I went to see Black Panther Wakanda Forever on the 11th. I wanted to give people time to see the movie before I go into this review because it's going to be a spoiler review. So, spoiler warning before we get into it. Surely you have seen it by now. If you haven't, I don't really care. You should have. So, I'm going to go ahead and give my official review on the movie. And listen, it is what it is. All right, so as it relates to the film was beautiful. Like, the film was absolutely lovely. I think it was an amazing and well put together film. Like, as far as a movie, this was a great film. So guys, officially Black Panther Wakanda Forever was a 7 out of 10. Even I'd say a 6.5 out of 10, but we're going to round up. So I think it's a 7 out of 10. It's a powerful and raw, emotional film. But flawed writing works diligently to convince us that T'Challa died from an illness off screen just because Chadwick Boseman did. It works excessively hard to diminish the Black Panther mantle down to Black Panther legacy down to a mantle, to which I say the same should go for every other Marvel character. All right? So what I mean by that is if there's no T'Challa, there should be no get rid of Bruce Banner, get rid of Thor completely, no bringing back Iron Man, no bringing back Captain America, get rid of Clint Barton, get rid of Ant-Man. Like, no, all first bearer names should just go off the woodwork, right? They need to be completely gone. Because if we're just going to shelve this one influential Black character that we have in pop culture, then all of them go. All right? That's my opinion. And I just felt like the movie, like, first of all, off-screen deaths for any situation in any type of film is lazy writing. Especially with the main character and someone as significant as T'Challa was. All right? The funeral was shot beautifully. Like, everything about this movie was beautiful. The emotion was beautiful. It was, like I said before, it was raw talent. So we already know that in Infinity War and Endgame, one of my gripes was this. Where were the Avengers? Why didn't no one show up to T'Challa's funeral? Right? You sold us on an off-screen death, and now you're viewing the funeral. Wakanda and Black Panther were essential in Infinity War and Endgame in saving the universe from Thanos. So no one shows up to T'Challa's funeral? No one? Not even Bucky Barnes, who lived in Wakanda for over a year? He doesn't come and pay his respects? Right? And we know that everybody showed up for Iron Man's funeral. I mean, the entire MCU was at Iron Man's funeral. Hell, Guardians of the Galaxy barely knew him. They traversed the galaxy and showed up. So why is no one at T'Challa's funeral? That's another thing that really rubbed me the wrong way. Okay, but for the sake of movie, let's move it out. All right. So my next point is missing from your own sequel. Completely unheard of. Completely unheard of. I am a firm believer that had Tom Holland died in the role of Spider-Man, who got a sequel, had Iron Man, who got a trilogy, had Iron Man, had Robert Downey Jr. died in the role of Iron Man, who also got a trilogy, they would have recast these roles. Marvel and Kevin Feige are in no way shelving Spider-Man and Iron Man. And those actors, especially Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Iron Man, are just as iconic of a portrayal as Chadwick Boseman was to T'Challa. This doesn't happen to white superheroes. I mean, we've seen people recast it for less, right? I mean, let's talk about Iron Man, right, and Terrence Howard, and then the next in the sequel film, you got this dark-skinned black Don Cheadle as Rhodes, right? So it's as Rhodey. I'm sorry. So we've seen casting for far less, but we've also seen casting for death, right? William Hurt, Thunderball Thaddeus Ross passed away and was immediately recasted. So I want us as a culture and as a people to kind of get away from our emotional feelings towards the actor. He passed away. It happens. It's a tragedy. It's sad. We'll always feel that pain. But we have to get over the passiveness when it comes to representation in media. We are still 25%. We are still less than 25% represented in modern entertainment. And that just goes across all forms of literature and entertainment, right? So why it really bothers me that so many Black people are comfortable and okay and even for shelving the role of T'Challa. Shelving it. That is worrisome. And these are middle-aged, and I made a post on Facebook, these are middle-aged, older Black men who are fine with not recasting T'Challa. When at the time, let's not forget why Black Panther was so successful. Because it opened a doorway for Black boys and girls to see their characters represented like on a scale unhitherto. We've never seen that type of scale. That's why the first movie made over $1 billion. You saw the theaters packed with little boys dressed in Black Panther, Black Panther gear. That's what we need. That's what we need. Now listen, you'll have people all over the internet, the far left and the liberals, I call them the delusionals, who will say, it's just the Black Panther Wakanda Forever outcry is just misogyny and not wanting to see women in lead roles or not wanting to see Black women in lead roles, to which I say only Sith deal in absolutes. Of course, there's some people out there who are misogynistic, but the word that term is so overrated and so overused. If you know anything about Godhood Comics, you know anything about me. Our most powerful characters in our universe right now are Black females, are Black women, right? You have Tanya Evil, Ultima from the antagonist, and you have Mega Woman from Keisha Carter's Mega Woman. Two of the most powerful people right now in the Godhood universe. So don't come at me about being misogynistic. No, that's not what it's about. All right? It's about not shelving the one black character we have, right? So T'Challa broke a national scale for us. The Black Panther, who is T'Challa, right? Who the Black T'Challa was the Black Panther in the comic books for years and years and years, decades before we start seeing Okoye, before we start seeing Shuri, before we start seeing these women in the roles and the characters of Wakanda. I mean, that's what we wanted to see in the MCU, right? No other Marvel character was shelved for their side characters. It didn't have to happen that way. We know how good Disney Plus is in revisiting the lore of certain main characters. Wakanda Forever really should have been a Disney Plus show. Now, let me talk to you. The best thing about that movie were the women leads. Letitia Wright, Angela Bassett. Listen. These ladies delivered Oscar-worthy performances. They were emotional. They were raw. That's what we want to see from these characters in their own movies or in their own Disney Plus series. They brought the heat. They saved the day. If Angela Bassett don't win an Oscar, I am going to be livid. Okay, they did amazing. Now, man, Tina Porta, show stealer, delivers a menacing and sympathetic performance as Namor. Namor now is top 3 MCU villain for me. Thanos, Namor, and I don't know my third as of right now, but I would say my third would be the Scarlet Witch. Those are my top 3 MCU villains for right now. Thanos, Namor, and the Scarlet Witch, who is officially an MCU villain. Man, this guy brought the heat. I'm so glad Coogler and the team changed up the Atlantis lore. I think that's a concept that's just been overused too much. We've seen it in Aquaman. We'll see kind of that lore in Disney's live-action Little Mermaid, with Atlantica, which is basically Atlantis. So I feel like that was a fresh start, a fresh story, man. When you can take a character and deliver a fresh story like that, while also shedding light on another unrepresented culture, amazing, amazing, amazing. This is what I say about Black people always extending the olive branch to other cultures and it not being returned to us in the same way. There was no reason for Coogler to have to share the screen with another culture, and he did that, and it worked amazingly. And if you look at those reviews from the Hispanic culture and the Mexican culture, they are astounding. I mean, they actually got to see their representation as it relates to comic book and big blockbuster, because these things matter. They got to see their themselves on screen and kind of got to experience what we all experienced with that first Black Panther, which is why I am dumbfounded by the amount of people who are okay with letting this ride. All right. This movie would have been a 10 out of 10 if Black Panther was recasted. It would have been a 10 out of 10, hands down. This would have been the best MCU film to date. It would have been the best movie of the year, right? To see T'Challa and to see T'Challa and Namor battle it out, go head to head as kings and leaders. Listen, Letitia Wright was amazing as Shuri, emotional tearjerker as Shuri. Her Black Panther, which we only saw for about 8 minutes, didn't have a lot of presence, especially going up against Tina Porta's Namor. I mean, it just looked, you had this maybe 100-pound soaking wet woman battling this god. It just didn't sell me. It was an underwhelming fight scene in the end there. I think we all revel in seeing Namor live actions because there's characters, people who love Namor and hate Namor. They kind of, seeing him in live action was just sinister. It was scary. That was a menacing villain. Shuri's Black Panther just didn't deliver for me. I knew, you had a lot of people saying, well, they might do a double take. It could be a Okoye or a Nakia in the suit. I'm thinking, like, we saw the same trailer. That is Shuri. That Black Panther had no yams, no ass. That was Shuri. So I already knew it was going to be her. Keep in mind, those are the people that say, well, it's the comics. It's the comics. It's like the comics. There was no need to bring this storyline in as early as we did. Again, I always say, I told you guys already, all of these other main characters got their trilogies. Not Black Panther. In the comic book, Shuri didn't take on the Black Panther mantle until 2009. 50 years after T'Challa. So to see this storyline play out in the second movie, it's a bit premature. And I thought it was just lazy. It was very lazy. There's so many storylines that we could have done with the Black Panther, even including Shuri. I would have loved to see M'Baku take on the Black Panther, or even take on a more comic book accurate costume and kind of step up and save the day there, while Shuri did kind of just focus on running the kingdom and her own grief. Here's where it's going to get controversial. I think the cast and crew were selfish. I think they should have stepped away and gave the reins to T'Challa's story to a new creative team. I think I would rather we had pushed this project back a little for them all to take more time to grieve. Ryan Coogler and the main cast and crew, I think they needed more time to grieve. I think grief made them, especially on Coogler's part, made him make a lot of bad decisions creatively. So I would rather have them, the two options would have been, I think they should have taken 2 more years to grieve. And, we could have done the Wakanda Forever Disney Plus series. Or I think he should have stepped down and hand-selected a list of other directors that he trusted and presented them to Feige. So we could have got T'Challa sequel like we needed to have. I'm just not comfortable with our only positive representation in pop culture on a blockbuster scale being shelved for an eventually. As of right now, we don't know, what's going to happen with T'Challa, which I'll get to in a little later. It was just selfish. I think the personal grief was missed opportunity for a higher representative film. I mean, to see a black man and a Hispanic man go head to head as kings and leaders of their culture, it just would have been a powerful film. And that's the only thing that really stopped this thing from being a 10 out of 10. I will, me personally, I'm going to be personally boycotting any Wakanda or Black Panther IP as it relates to the MCU until we get T'Challa recasted, or B, they figure out what they're going to do with T'Challa Jr., which kind of brings me to my next point, which is the mid-credit scene in which Nakia introduces Shuri to a 6-year-old T'Challa's son, who as creators and writers, you can kind of see that they're going to retire Chadwick's T'Challa, and they're going to force all those storylines on this T'Challa Jr. So the question then becomes, are we waiting 10 years for this actor to grow up? Or are we going to utilize Kang the Conqueror storyline where we can have a full-grown T'Challa Jr. In the next 2 to 3 years, and have him kind of step into the role that Chadwick was going to play out. All right, so that's my official review. Those are my gripes with it. Again, incredible story, emotional, raw movie. I definitely think it's Oscar worthy, but I think it was a missed opportunity, a huge missed opportunity. And one of the things that I'm going to share with you guys today are the tweets from Recast T'Challa, which are taking over since the film has come out. And man, oh man, are they really going in. This one says, honoring Chadwick Boseman means honoring the man he was and the life he lived, not a Disney character he briefly played. They've taken ownership of both his life and death. Recast T'Challa. Again, I agree. All right, so it's so sad to me that T'Challa, the legendary character, can't be recast, but the Joker can be played by all these great actors, and I applaud DC and Warner Bros. Chooses to keep the legendary character of the Joker. It's character, guys. It's not actor. Recast T'Challa. We are tired of seeing our hero die. He deserves so much better than what the MCU has done with this character. We should get to see how strong and incredibly smart T'Challa is. And I agree with this one because we did lose T'Challa 3 times. And you know, that entire family has been through so much trauma. And I know a lot of MCU characters and heroes have been through a lot of trauma. None more than now, I would say, Shuri and Scarlet Witch. But man, they put T'Challa through a lot, and we needed him. All right, so I'm going to go to my Facebook post and kind of share what I was talking about here that got a lot of attention, and then explain that because it was real. Okay, so right here I said, now since Kevin Conroy tragically, unfortunately passed away, let's see if they will leave Batman out of the next few animated films in order to honor him. For many, Kevin meant greatly to a lot of people, the same way Chadwick did. The only difference is white characters don't get shelved. As you can see, we had 111 comments. People were very, very, very upset with this and brought the point that Kevin Conroy had played Batman and was already kind of recasted with other voice actors, and that it doesn't add up because he was already recasted. To which I said, well, he had been playing Batman for 30 years, only, and still was recently. So the time frame you can't match up because Chadwick Boseman had just started playing T'Challa, so you can't add it up on that factor. My point was, both are influential to a comic book character, but you better be damn well sure that DC will not be shelving a Batman animated character because one of the most influential voice actors that they had for the character passed away, as tragic as it was. And I found it kind of poetic because both men passed away from cancer. So, I just think it was a missed opportunity, and that's my personal opinion. Again, the movie was very well done. I do believe that Coogler and the team had an extraordinary feat, and to have to work through that trauma to deliver something as good as that is no easy task, and we got to give the man his flowers. He did exceptionally well. The women in the film really, really hit this home for me. But I think it was it could have been a 10 out of 10, but due to lazy writing, lazy writing, plot holes, it just kind of fell flat towards the end and in the middle there. And I was always afraid that it would feel like a giant funeral service for Chadwick. And for me, that's what it was to a certain extent. But again, the women were the saving grace. Namor was the saving grace. But I just challenge everybody to get outside your emotional acceptance of this death and really look at it from a representation point of view. We don't have any male superheroes, black male superheroes right now. black superheroes right now in pop culture as it relates to a leading blockbuster film. And we waited so long for this movie, and so to see black people just kind of again accepting anything that they can get their hands on with no outcry or we're the only people who accept and tolerate every and anything. But luckily, there's a few of us here with Recast T'Challa that are just telling Marvel, listen, if you expect to get us back in those theaters and continue this ride with you, you're going to have to give us what we want, just like you've given every other culture what they wanted. And that is for us to recast T'Challa, to see the amazing lore and story from T'Challa's decade-long stint as the Black Panther. Decades upon decades upon decades. There's so many stories that they can tell. There was no reason why Namor was the main character in the Black Panther film. Namor outshined and overshined Shuri, Okoye, Nakia, and the Black Panther in their own movie. Unacceptable. All right? That's my review of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. What do you think? Comment. Tell us what you think in the comment. What is your review? Let's get into it. Let's go back and forth. Share this with your friends. Tell me what you think. Honest opinion. Don't hold back on us. We really want to hear your opinion. Always, always, always go ahead and subscribe to our Patreon. It's how we pay our bills. It's how we keep going here at Godhead Comics. And head over to our new website, www.godheadcomics.com, to check out our catalogs of books, classes, and submissions. All right, guys. Tyler out.